was something that we saw last week, actually. Caleb took his party with all red mages into Ice Cave, charged one of them all the way up to level 42 with an ice sword, and then immediately took him to town, switched him out for a black belt, and he had a black belt grind without having to worry about whether or not he had exit, because his red mage had exit. It was like the perfect party for him. And as we see here, we have red mages in town. Caleb has gone with his default open of taking 3 red mages. Meanwhile, Dangwu has taken that white mage and added 3 red mages to it for a really fun party.
But it looks like Caleb's re-rolling here. I think he gave up the white mage, but saw exit in slot 4 at level 1, which only the white mage can learn until promotion, and I think he wants to have that in his back pocket. So he's got to start over here, because you can't really go without level 1 exit. That's a really bad time.
No, no, that's absolutely... You don't want to spend the time trying to find that white mage again so you can get exit back. That is too key a spell this early in the game to be without it. So, despite his standard opening, I think he has to go without that 3 red mages that he likes so much. King giving us the ship immediately. That's going to open up the world to us already.
Yeah, interesting play here. I didn't realize on these flags that that's something that, people will do. I know a lot of the time it's just, let's go run over to go foul up Garland's day and move on from there, but looks like Deng is going to completely avoid the Temple of Fiends right now and hit south immediately looking for a different class, I guess.
It's interesting. I haven't seen this play from them before. Usually they take the standard play of walk over to Canaria after hitting Temple of Fiends, see what your key items are at the 3 main locations you're going to get there. Apparently that ship has made Dengwu start considering everything else as an option to him. He wants to go see what's at the towns, he wants to go see what his party can be before he even thinks about doing Topher, apparently.
Zaps a pack of Sayhags for level 4, so immediately getting off to a good start with levels. The scaling's 1.8 plus 350, so you actually get good experience and gold from killing these big packs of things. Because you can see Caleb is going to turn Zap on this group here and see if he can send them packing to the 4th dimension and get his first couple levels under his...
Well, with Tavern Mode being turned on, and it's one of those things where you want to start getting your experience going as quickly as you can, simply because of the fact that you never know when you're going to find a party member that you want to turn online from the get-go. If they find that black belt immediately, they're going to want to use that. I see, speaking of things that they can do and things to take account for, Melmond is over here at Elf Town, so they at least know where they can turn in that slab, but they're not quite there for those level 5 spells.
And the tough thing is Deng did go in there, did save before he went into the town and got overrun by Wraiths with Lightning 2 and really hard melee attacks. I think they were hitting for 70 on the no armor, so not exactly a great part of town to be in as he has to take a wipe, but not a costly one, and he's going to head on back north, it looks like, back to the Temple of Fiends.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like Light 2, and just seeing that against a party this week, no matter what, that's just brutal. Your party members in the low single digits just are not going to be able to take a level 2 spell to the face no matter what. That's almost instant death right there for them.
Yeah, and the other really problematic thing is that Wraiths do pack up in packs of 4 to 6 in dungeons. So if you run aground of them in Ice Cave, it could be, even though it only does upwards of like 80 to 100 damage, and even if you start to get to resisting it, if you take 4 or 5 of those before you can end the fight, your party is going to take a massive amount of damage. It's going to be really tough to get through some dungeons now.
Yeah, even if you have the levels in your belt, 4 or 5 of those level 2 spells against your face, that's enough to take out a good number of party members. Like, if you find that Black Mage at some point and you decide you really want to take them because the spells are good, Black Mages aren't really going to hold up against that without a ribbon, and even with the ribbon, their HP growth is low enough, that's still going to hurt. I see over at Provoca we have On-Rack, so all the customary early towns we expect to get, they're not there, but a fighter is available at the pub over here. Caleb decides he doesn't care about, though, and sails on.
Might be useful later if you want to make a level 24 dive with a Moss Immune. If that comes up, we don't know yet where that would be in the world. So, there's always going to be good options, but a fighter doesn't do anything without a good sword and some decent armor here, and we don't have any of that at this.
No, we don't, but there is the possibility of finding some. Bear in mind that some of the good treasure that you'd normally find only in treasure chests is available for sale at the shops. I see here at Canaria, for example, we have not only silver armor, but flame shields. Now, you have to get them.
through the early tough spot.
I see we've lost stream for just a second here. I think that's happened for everyone, though. We're working on getting it back, but in the time being, we will, just keep chatting about it. Now, it's an interesting thing to point out with Dingwu as we see him actually come back and trying to figure out what to do with those Sayhags. The grinding at this early stage of the game is important, and it's important to take those early levels off of packs you can defeat. Now, Zap is going to help them out to a certain extent there. It's the thing that I've picked up from all the various tournaments and things that I've played in is that walking grind. Sure, the tiles are really nice, but if you can pick up a lot of those levels you need along the way, you don't have to spend nearly as long on one of those tiles. So those Sayhag packs and the impacts are good at the start. Start finding the mid packs, your ogres, your creeps, things like that that'll help you with your money and your experience. Knowing what to take and where to take it as you're going along the way, that's really helpful.
Well, it looks like Caleb's going to loosen up the purse strings, take about 1,000 gold out of the old pack there, and grab the Lightning 3 and Fire 3 because we finally have our sweeper spells because level 1 didn't have it. So we don't have to deal with late Melmond we may still have to deal with late Elflin, but late Provoke is not on the table. Level 2 magic is online right now. Also grabbing Heal 2, it looked like as well.
So having found Provoca, Caleb is going to check out here, try and find those pirates, see what they have. Obviously, Harm 2 is not going to do anything against the pirates because they're alive. But if he can get one of those 2 sweepers off, these pirates aren't going to be able to stand up against it. Level 3 is just going to destroy them.
Well, the pirates are no longer alive.
Now Harm 2 will work against them.
Well, first you'd have to go over to Earth Cave and have Lich raise them up and turn them into skeletons, most likely by, taking their skeletons. And then maybe Harm Magic will work. But that takes a little bit of effort and a little bit of time, so I don't think it's going to come to that. But Provoca also has something real interesting in the shop there for 22 large. There was the bottle.
That is a very valuable item to know, especially since we already know where Onrak is at. That indicates to me that, we have to turn that bottle into Gaia, wherever that might be, but there's a good chance that bottle could turn into something they're going to have to use. Along with that crown, one of those two could easily lead to Oxyale, and then suddenly we're having to dig in for Kraken. Unfortunately, I don't know what was in the treasure chests over there at Matoya's. We were having just a little bit of a server stoppage right there.
Looked like a cabin and a potion, so basically the usual Matoya consumables. I did not catch what the pirates had, though, from Biggie the Pirate there.
The crown. So that
nice
puts Astos on the table.
Yep, so the chains are shuffled, correct? So the crown may not necessarily lead to the crystal, is that right?
May not lead to anything whatsoever. Again, having Onrak on the table, I would not be surprised to see Oxyale anytime soon, but with the crown and the bottle in play at this point, that's going to lead to a certain amount of interest. And I'm seeing from the tracker that the princess had the chime. That was something that I missed there. But that's another thing that's going to immediately open up an area. That could lead to Mirage being on the table as soon as they decide they want to sail over to it, because we do have extended open progression, or at least open progression on, which is going to put certain areas like the Mirage potentially in play.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, there's 2 loose key items on these flags, so there's 2 items that are just out there in boxes, and that it does include the Moss Immune, the Defense Sword, and the Opal Bracelet, so there's a little bit of the high-powered equipment out there as well. But the idea is that it's 18 chests, but it's a gamble right now, because there's still chains to chase and items to get, so, staying afield, going that far afield for what could be nothing is probably a pretty big risk.
It is, but with the way the towns are playing out, who knows if we're going to find that floater anytime soon. Now, we do have a couple of incentivized locations that they're going to want to try out. One of which might just be a surprise to them, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But they're going to have to figure out what chains they want to follow, what plays they're going to want to make, and it may be that sailing over to the Onrak area is what they need to do. And with that canoe in play, that opens up even more. That Castle Reveals is now on the table for them.
Yeah, Castle Ordeals, and there's a lot of places that they could certainly go right now. It also opens up Ice Cave and Volcano, so it does open up a ton of treasure chests, honestly. Volcano being one of the most treasure-dense areas in the game, so hanging out over there is not the worst idea, but it's a bit of a hike through the river system, and I'm not really keeping perfect track of what the encounter table looks like, but it doesn't look that good for making big deep runs, even at 60%.
Yeah, it's the thing of, I like a volcano play if you're in the area and you at least want to check something out, maybe see what those top level treasure chests are, because the armory is very dense. I don't know with the levels they are at and the spells that they have, if I would dive too deep into volcano, or if I would just do a quick search and then move on to ice cave where some incentivized items could be lurking.
So, I mean, Caleb still has level 1 exit. You could get cheeky and make the play there if you really wanted to. Deng has given that option up, instead taking a fighter on when he had the opportunity, so he's running the fighter tri-red mage, which you see an awful lot in these flags.
These are, it's a powerful combo. I like them. I like the abilities of the red mage to just give you basically everything you potentially want, because you're going to get a sweeper on them almost guaranteed. They can use swords. If you get a bunch of the swords that they can use, you can load them all up with it. Maybe put Saber on a bunch of them and just go to town. So Dang is here going to pick up his crown from these pirates after he also destroys them with Lit 3. Lit 3, the choice of killing pirates in any location.
Well, at least in this seed. I mean, you know, there's a lot of good options for killing pirates. They have like 7 hit points.
It is true. A stiff breeze will knock them over.
Alright, so Deng did add on the crown from the pirates, so he is now picking around Provoke. He's got his sweeper magic, so I think he's pretty well done here at this point. Did see the bottle, so he now has that knowledge as well, so both of our runners do have the bottle on their mind at this point. 20 grand sounds like a lot, but once we get deep into the seed, it's going to be pretty easy to come by.
So we see Caleb making the play southwards, not checking out Crescent Lake right now. Instead, his goal is to get over to this on-rec area, hit the town, see what's in there. Oh, well, first off, we have Blizzard and Kilos with Glance. Those are evil.
I mean, he's trying to run away and hoping to not get meleeed, because, of course, they also have stun touch, and they're hitting for over 100 damage a swing on the light armor, so that sale is all negated because he did not save, and he has got a hike on back now.
Yeah, so good note, and Kilos are evil, and that lost him a good minute right there.
The big thing is, I think one of the biggest things for players, both new and old, and I fall into this trap all the time, is there's a great piece of advice I received from Silverfire, a very good runner and my partner for one of my most recent streams of this game. Buy a bunch of cabins, get your hands on a bunch of tents, don't be afraid to use them, mash that reset button, get out of encounters, don't die.
Yeah, those Blizzard and Kilos are just very trigger happy right there. Second they can come out, they decide to re-pop out and just go to town on them. But we do have Elfin in here, so that makes this check worthwhile with Nuke and Ice 3. 2 very nice sweepers right there for his red mages.
Yep, no need to buy Ice 3 though, Nuke is where the business is at, and there's a white mage available, so Caleb's going to reload on white. He's going to at least revive his white mage, even though he could buy more. He should buy at least one more.
If he bought them, if he rebought his white mage, he'd lose the spells on them. But just by reviving them, he gets to keep the spells, because that's one of the quirks of Tavern Mode. If you buy a class, you get them at their best stats, but they don't have any spells or equipment or anything on them. So you have to, redo them at that point. Life level 4 here in the second slot. Is that blocked off to red mages? I can't remember what's in the level 4.
That is actually harm 2, I believe, or heal 2 from vanilla. That is hard locked to the white mage only.
Ouch.
So that is off limits as well.
So that white mage is going to be suddenly very necessary, considering we don't have anything but life so far as our revive spells. I did see, however, Fast and Quad X sitting in the black magic shop of level 4. Those are another couple of very nice spells. You're going to want that Fast before you go diving into Topher. About the only way to really boost up your number of hits if you have a high evade monster that you're trying to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is that it does double the number of hits that you deliver with your weapon. So as you gain levels, you gain hit rate, which makes you swing more per swing, basically, because Final Fantasy 1 is basically D&D. And, of course, Fast will double that, which is, of course, incredibly good. You can't really go wrong with, doubling your damage.
Never. It's one of those spells, it's a must-buy in my books. Fast is up there with Lock 2 and Temper as the spells that I pray that my Black Mage is going to be able to get every time.
I mean, Fast is interesting because you don't necessarily need Fast early on. It can be a level 6 spell, and that's just fine, because you only usually need a couple of charges of it through a run. Unlike Temper, which is just please give me Temper at level 1 so I can spam this on literally every single fight for the entirety of the game.
The sooner I get it, the better. Who knows if I'm going to find that power bonk that I'm going to want to boost up my characters. Give me temper, give it to me now, please.
Well, of course, Power Bonk's also a double-edged sword, as everybody knows, may or may not know. It does let you cast Saber on yourself, which is a better buff than Temper. But if you're self-buffing, you're not swinging your sword. You're not throwing those hands out there. You're not doing damage. So, all of a sudden, double nuke Kraken can turn the house around on you and just take your party.
It's very true. It's the things you have to consider when you're looking at the spells that you're doing and the items you have is what you got to prioritize and how do you want your turns to go. Because it's the thing of every turn you're not doing damage is a turn where you maybe need to be doing damage. Because who knows what they're going to come out with, what they might do. It's tough. This game is tough at times.
Level 3 white magic is not worth looking at, so Dang looks at it and walks away.
I did see Ruse.
Well, that'll be nice for the knight in the end game, because that does apply 2 stacks of evasion, and at 6 stacks of evasion, you're basically able to evade anything that's not a critical hit, which is always nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unless you get that critical happy chaos, normally you're going to be okay with Ruse on your guys. It's one of those spells I do like taking if I can get it.
Yeah, a little bit of an issue here with our runners really light on cabins here, so not a lot of housing at the moment, because they were, I believe, 340 gold apiece.
Spells have confirming what I was thinking. Ruse, how unfortunately, was not in a Knight learnable spot, so that's beyond him right now. So Knight doesn't really care about Ruse. The other thing you're going to notice on screen right now is this waterfall cave doesn't look the way you're going to expect it to. Demarine, why is that?
So, a lot of experimental things have gone into the Final Fantasy Randomizer. This one in particular is a favorite of mine. It has been spearheaded by Leggy Starscream. This is her big project. Actually, she's also a PhD who does work on procedural generation, which is what's happening here right now. So we took all the pieces, we put them into a box, they shuffled them up, they spread them out. So now the map is randomized. So we've actually added randomization to our randomizer.
Which is what you really want in a.
Yep. Look how random our randomizer is. It gets more and more random every day, as I believe both of our runners are headed north and around to see what's over there. The big thing is that the room itself still sticks out from the terrain, so you can still see the outline of it. So as you can see, Deng sees the outline of it and sees the door pop up and goes, "Oh, I'm on the wrong side of this wall. I better turn around." But first, I better blow up these mud golems for experience points because we're not lagging behind on levels at this point, but
Yeah, they're slowly creeping up into the mid-teens, and they're 17 minutes in. That's a good pace to be at for levels right now. Of course, he takes a moment to heal up before he steps on that trap tile. Doesn't want to get killed by the mummies that are sitting here. Trap tile shuffle is not on. We did not want to make this too rough for our players. They should be able to know what they're going into when they get there. But still, you never know what these mummies might have on them, and you don't want to get caught unawares and get destroyed.
Yeah, mummies are also a fairly common enemy in a lot of different zones, so you don't necessarily want to see them because, you see something really nasty with AoE spell or AoE death mummies, and all of a sudden Ordeals looks bad, Earth Cave looks bad. Even Mirage may look bad because that's an encounter that pops up there as well.
It does look like the adamant was what came from the robot. Meanwhile, Dangwu, not using that exit, that he doesn't have, has to walk this adamant out. But that is going to give him a chance to have a few more of these mummies, although he decides to run instead.
Yeah, he's going to break and run. Siren is making a point is that we always assume Earth Cave looks bad. We talk a lot about the theory behind this game, of course, is that since there is full script shuffle, which means basically the enemies have the number of so it just increases the risk every enemy type you see.
Caleb here back in Elfland. That was over at the on-rack area, picking up that fast from the looks of it, although I suddenly got a stutter here, so I'm not quite certain. And then going and checking that white magic shop one more time.
I'm going to grab Heal 3 on these red mages. Heal 3, one of the most powerful AoE healing magic, but it heals 64 to 96, which doesn't sound like a lot, but the difference between 300 and 380 in this game is actually immense. So expect to see that get a lot of use. Also, just using it as a substitute for heal potions will save you a ton of time, because that's on a party of 3, that is going to be anywhere between 6 and 9 heal potions that you don't need to use.
Hugely valuable. It's a spell I love finding. I don't mind heal 2 so much. I won't bother with heal 1, because why would I want to spit white magic on my people? But heal 3 is the one that if I can buy it, I'm buying it no matter what. So we're spending a lot of time in this area. The on-rack area has proven valuable not only for levels, obviously, levels and money, gonna get our people what they need to be able to get through this, but just because there's been a lot of good stuff, spell-wise and key item-wise here. The question is, once they're able to finally get out of this area, where are they going to go to from here? I'm assuming we're going to get a on-rack play. That seems like the next valuable spot to go. We are still looking for that floater if we're going to get it. Yeah, Caleb's scaring me for a second there, clicking new game. Don't do that, Caleb. Play the game you're on right now.
Yeah, I mean, we do have the adamant to chase right now. Both of our runners did pick up the adamant rock, and that does need to get turned in as well. We are on the continent with ordeals, so an ordeal stop, not a bad idea, especially with Fire 3 and Lightning 3, which gives us the opportunity to basically kill our way through that dungeon for good experience. Medusas, Zombles, both pretty susceptible to that. Yeah, Caleb is making the ordeals play here, which I think is a solid play.
Well, the thing is that when you get the airship, you have to park so far away from here before you can actually get into ordeals, but since he's already on this side of the world with the ship, sailing over here, even if one of the key items he has is automatically going to leave the floater, it's just faster this way. This is the way to do this play.
Alright, yep.
So what are deals?
Pillar Maze.
Yep. The bane of so many existences, especially when we don't have warp right now. That's not a spell that we've seen just yet.
Yeah, a lot of runners will take notes here and reset out of bad pillars because they don't have warp, because warp will take you backwards. It's a trick you can't use in the vanilla game because you can't have warp until you promote, and normally you get the tail in here.
Yeah, it's a fun quirk of the random. There are things that you can do here that you wouldn't be able to do just by grace of the fact that you're not allowed to in the original game. By the way, everything is gated. Warp and exit are spells that you can't get until you're deep enough into the game to have already promoted and do other things, but there are fun tricks you can do with warp here in ordeals and over in Ice Cave that make exploration so much nicer.
So we've got Deng and Caleb both here in ordeals. I guess they've been running against each other so much that they've just basically decided that we're going to try to do the same things and outplay each other. And Caleb, with that exit spell out of Waterfall and a little bit more of an efficient early game, is been slightly ahead, and now that tide's about to get turned as he gets ambushed by a couple of nightmares on the nightmare tile here, and it is actually a nightmare.
Yeah, all of those couple quick levels that he picked up are wiped away, and he's going to have to do that again. But thankfully, at least this way, he knows the path he has to take. Hopefully the nightmares are not quite so ambushy, otherwise we might not be sticking around.
Yeah, he gets jumped by a pack of man cats as well, and gets sent back to the start as well. Red Gargoyle's not hitting terribly hard, but they're poison touching, and so that's a little bit of an annoying menu time that has to be burnt up so you don't take 1 damage per.
Do not pass go, do not collect 200 experience. So as Chad is pointing out, it's interesting that our runners are basically hand in hand here this whole time. And I don't think that's a plan on either of their parts. I think it's really just the way that this seed is laid out. Despite, having the ship available to them, the linear path of this world just seems to be like, you go here, you have to go here. Nothing else you can do right now.
Yeah, chasing towns is oftentimes a pretty big thing in these seeds because of the tavern mode and needing to get those early spells. But it's really interesting that neither runner ended up deciding to go and pick on Ice Cave and Volcano. They both decided to go north immediately. So again, in neat lockstep here. But of course, these nightmares bring the thunder. There's finally going to be a nuke out. So 1 red mage is going to survive for Caleb.
Wow. They hit like trucks and then backed up with thunder. Those are true nightmares. And unfortunately, he's gonna have to walk past that zombie D chest, whatever it may be, because there is absolutely no way for him to exit at this point.
Yeah, Deng sticks to zaps somehow, wow, which is real nice. I mean, nightmares are decently magic resistant, but not badly so, and there's a completely randomized Fire 2 staff that you can't get in the vanilla game ever.
No, never! Never. There's no spell staff that ever gives you Fire 2, not at all. This game is totally randomized.
Alright, so the mage staff is here, and Crystal Eye is also back here, and we're about to see some zombie dragons, probably.
They are runnable if he wants to risk it, but I don't think Caleb is going to. I know Dangu's going to just take this because it's good experience, and he has 4 party members standing. The question is what Caleb is going to be able to do once he gets there. Because that crystal is probably going to lead to something he needs. It's a risk that he's going to have to take.
I mean, it looks like he's probably, if he's still got a nuke charge in his back pocket, he only draws 1, which is great, and he's got 1 nuke charge here. He'll back it up with a Fire 3 if he has to, but 280 damage he does not, so he's going to get out of this one a lot. Not by much,
they
but,
didn't roll super high. Yeah, and he got priority position right there. That's all he needed.
So it looks like the next step in this chain is probably going to go ahead and chase down the Crystal Eye. Go ahead and say hi to Matoya. So sail back around and hope against all hope that you get a floater, and probably don't.
It is the question, though, of where exactly they go, because I believe floating straight up from here, they're close enough inland at this point that just sailing around to get to Adamant and Crystal is not the most viable path. They may decide to actually go hit the Volcano Ice Cave area just because it's closer at this point.
Yeah, straight up from Ordeals will take you to Elfland, interestingly enough. Heading straight down from Marsh Cave takes you directly to Bahamut's Cave. But it looks like Caleb is much more interested in chasing the Crystal Eye here, while Deng is more interested in talking to some old men in a circle in Crescent Lake.
Chad has asked for the seed flags to be posted. I will do so. However, do note that you are more than welcome to come and join us over on our Discords. Links are posted, of course, here in the chat, so you can check us out, or you can go to FinalFantasyRandomizer.com, and the links to our Discords are right there. Join us anytime. Come become a part of the community, and then you can join us in our SG Live chat room and join the discussion on this particular run of games that
It honestly amazes me a little bit that Caleb has actually been working a lead all this seed with literally no armor. He has not bought a single piece of armor until that first gold bracelet on his red mate.
he likes to play dangerously. I can't fault him for that.
I mean, there's always that delicate balance in aggressive play in the Final Fantasy Randomizer. Sometimes you get rewarded, and sometimes you get dead.
I believe that's the way you have to put it, too, right there. You just get dead. During that, Adamant turns in the ruby, and now we have the fun flag for everyone. This is something that's new to the randomizer, introduced in the last couple months. It is called tri-state flags. What that means is that you can switch the checkboxes from a checkbox to a blank checkbox and a question mark, which means the seed gets to decide whether or not a flag is activated, and you don't know it until you're into the game. So the tri-state flag we have turned on right now is incentivized Titan's Trove. Could be incentivized, may not be incentivized. Won't know until you get there and you spend that ruby to find out.
Interestingly enough, when I opened up the seed that they rolled in the SRL room, it looks like it's a little bit different. I think they flipped it from Titan's Trove to Earth Cave.
Well, I had been talking about doing what we were jokingly calling a tri-state, which is...
Oh, come on. Now you're just going to confuse everybody.
Well, if this isn't something we're going to do at the live event, we'll stick to Titan's Trove because it's funny enough. But we had 3 that we were talking about making as potentially the questionable incentivized. Titan's Trove, Earth Cave, or Canaria Locked, I believe. And we, apparently our tracker, Spells app, has decided to go with Titan's Trove So, or not Titan's Trove, it has decided to go with Earth Cave. So Titan's Trove is going to be incentivized. That's guaranteed. Earth Cave, the chest behind the vampire, may not.
That just means it's going to be the rod.
More often than not, yes, the seed will just troll you and put the rod right there. And, and because there's two loose, it may not even be an incentivized rod. It may have been a loose rod that just ends up behind the vampire. I have had that happen more than once.
Alright, so we do have a crystalline eye turn in from Caleb, and so Matoya decides to give over her entire stash of TNT. Not going to talk about that one.
She had it when before she was unable to see. She had some fireworks. Maybe she just likes to feel the explosions and hear the sounds of it. You don't let her have her thing. Let that woman do what she wants. Now we have an Oxyale right here. As I said, Onrak was certainly seeming to be on the table. And Caleb here did an interesting thing that you will note. He sailed his ship around that peninsula and then parked it on the side of the river system because of that canoe. Gave him a very easy spot to park for the dwarves, much closer than their dock up north.
Yeah, so again, Ding is chasing the same trail at this point in time, and Caleb's got a bit of a decision tree in front of him now, and is going to decide to avoid going down into Earth Cave just yet, and is going to go ahead and turn in this ruby. Also giving us access to the Sardis Cave, which actually means this is a double item, which of course means the ruby's a very high priority turn in.
And that's the thing, I always forget, because I go to Sarda when I have my floater and I have my airship, I forget Sarda is there for me to visit. So even after I'll turn in the ruby, I'm like, okay, time to go to Earth Cave, dum dum dum, and just forget to go talk to Sarda at all.
Well, Dr. Damarine is going to prescribe you to run the game vanilla a whole bunch. You can go run PSP, that's fine. But,
Oh my god. I'm going to have to do it improved vanilla, because playing the original game is so slow.
Just speedrun PSP. It takes an hour and a half. I mean, you could speedrun GBA. It takes, 2 hours and 50 minutes.
So I see the Titan's Cave did have an item, and it was the key. That opens up even more delightful checks for them to do right now, including Marsh Locked. Who doesn't love going to Marsh?
They haven't gone to Marsh yet because the incentive chest is in the bottom right corner of Marsh Cave Floor 3 on the south side, which nobody ever really wants to hike to, but hey, it might just have to happen. We are still looking for the rod for access to Lich. We need the chime to get up on... We have the chime, but we need the cube to get on top of Sky Tower to go ahead and foul up Tiamat's day. We can access Carry, and we could go fight Kraken if we really wanted to. We don't want to.
Well, and that is something that you need to bear in mind, and it's a question of whether or not our runners remember this. Just because you have access to the Sea Shrine doesn't mean you're going to be fighting Kraken, because we have shuffled bosses turned on as well.
Taking all the certainty out of your certainty,
Now, I'm going to note, those Grey Wolves, they were pretty beefy. That Fire 2 staff was not taking them down. They did get the defense sword, though, and it's a wall sword. That's an interesting spell to put on that item.
Oh, that'll be a nice thing. So one of the items, or at least pieces of armor that we're looking for, are ribbons, because they have one armor for a helmet, so they're the worst helmet armor for actual physical defense. But they also give you protection from every single element in the game. And the big thing with elemental protection is that it makes spells have 0 accuracy, so it reduces their hit rate immensely, which means for damage spells they do half damage basically, and then it halves the damage of damage spells on top of everything else. So it basically quarters all the elemental damage you have and reduces the chance of you getting instantly killed by instant death spells to a measly 3 out of 256, because reasons.
I gotta credit LCB. You wander into Sardis Cave here, and as they joke, as Sarda's like, I don't need this wall. Here, take it, and just rips it right out of his hut and hands it to you.
I mean, he's got like 6 extra. It's fine.
He wanted a window. That wall was entirely unnecessary.
Look, we promise it wasn't load-bearing.
What is load-bearing when you're in a cave? I'm curious now.
I mean, those rocks in the ceiling that look really pretty? Don't mess with those.
Don't touch those. Those are bad.
So Temper
it's
is going
interesting
to
to
be
note
Black
that.
Mages only there, by the way.
And Cure 4 at the level 7 shop. It's nice to know what that spell is. It kind of sucks that it's at level 7.
That one's White Mages only.
Ooh, Pro Rings for only 7k. Those are really cheap, honestly.
Yeah, in the vanilla game, they run 16,000. They give you 8 armor on any character, so anybody can equip them, which, of course, makes them a nice investment. 8 armor will, reduce the damage you take from attacks by 8, which, honestly, it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you have a multi-hitting enemy like a Lobster that is hitting for, 3 hits for, 18 apiece, now all of a sudden it's not really going to do terribly much damage anymore. Of course, it also gives protection from Death Elemental, which is only some of the death spells in the game, but not all of them. But, we'll take what we can get.
Well, just by grace of the fact that it's one of the few pieces of really decent hand armor that the wizard can wear, 8 points is a huge benefit to them.
Yep, Caleb has just given himself the news that his White Mage is actually going to be a really good investment because White Mages rule. White Mages can learn Cure 4, Heat Life, and Life 2, and they've decided that no one else can have their secrets this time around.
I'm guessing a loot must have been loose over at Marsh Cave, making Marsh doubly incentivized, because I'm seeing in chat calls of a loot right here.
Yeah, no, loot was from the fairy and the fairy from the bottle.
I was seeing the loot before it even showed up on my stream, so I must be a little behind here.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep track of chat as well, and so just trying and keep an eye on everything. It's a little bit hard even with just 2 streams, but comes with practice.
Giving my stream a refresh right now, so I'm going to be down for just a couple.
Yep, Deng finds the Jerk Wizard tile here and just decides to nuke it because he's really tired of this garbage, and he's going to give us a look at the swamp the Marsh Cave chest that is not incentivized. It was just Iron Nunchucks, of course, because, it's just an item. But with 2 loose items still out there in the world, he's going to keep hunting. He's going to get his hands on the Ice Shield here.
Another Fire 2 staff. So that must be the heal staff right there, because I know there's 2 of those in the game normally.
Yep.
I mean, they're nice to have. Fire 2 really wasn't doing that much damage, though. Those Grey Wolves were actually standing up to them, and you hate to see that when they can stand up to a level 2 spell.
It is the lowest damage sweeper spell in the game, topping out, I believe, only at 80 if my memory serves me correctly. But it does enhance damage to the undead. It's nice to have an ice cave. There's a couple of great spots for it. Even if you're just picking up mid-range zombie packs, and the cave and the dive into Marsh Lock seems like it was a pretty good one. I'm not gonna lie.
So far, so good. Gave him some things to use. The double door glitch, lovely.
Yep, but of course, more importantly, behind that locked door down there at the bottom of Marsh Cave, we have hardened Japanese steel. We have the Moss Mute.
Well, that suddenly gives Dengwu a nice leg up right there. That's a huge amount of power he can suddenly dump on any of his warriors, although obviously you're going to put on the fighter right now just because he's the one that has the hits for it. It's going to make all these dives that he's doing a whole heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, and on the fighter, no less, so it's going to be a fairly, going to get the extra hits out of it, and the extra strength behind it, so it's going to hit pretty hard. It's not like putting it in the hands of a red mage, he's putting it in the hands of an expert, so it'll be real nice. But this has been our first real divergence of this race at 38 minutes. It's been real interesting. What do you think about the routing at this point?
Well, I can honestly say I understand both their moves, because Ice Cave is going to be near Volcano. Ice Cave has an incentivized item in it. Ice Cave is right around the levels that he's going to want to be at, and that Fire 2 is going to be good against Fire 2 staff is going to be good against the ice enemies he finds in here, as well as the undead that he deals with. Although those Lit 2 rates certainly make it seem a little less interesting, a little more spicy than he might like. I can understand this play, and then of course if you get some good levels from the eyes and there's a good item down here, go venture over to Volcano, finish off Volcano right now, and move on with your life. That said, Marsh has proven to be quite valuable already. Can't say I blame Deng for this move at this point, and that Masamune is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, this is the kind of split that comes from knowledge that Deng gained 25 minutes ago, that Ice Cave with the rates was going to be a dangerous dive. And of course, on the flip side of the coin, Caleb never got that information from Melmond. So he did not know that Wraiths were going to be ready to start firing away. And of course, on his 3-character party, it's going to be a little bit tough, but that's a good pickup right there from the mage chest there. It's an Invis 2 helmet.
So the power of the shirt has been applied to a helm instead. Honestly, makes that heal helm a whole lot more interesting, because that heal helm is one of those ones I'm like, well, this is a great item. I'm going to ditch it and use something else instead. Thank you very much. And that also implies the possibility of 2 of those being in the game. Double white shirt, very nice.
Yeah, who needs to buy Invis 2 when you can just put it on a hat and hand it to somebody and they can use it like a casting item here. Deng finds nothing in Marsh North that he was interested in, so he's going to reset out. He's going to settle himself into, looks like Northwest Castle. I think his intent is to grab the 3 chests and maybe check the 2 encounter tiles here. But wait, no, this isn't randomized, so we know that they're mummies and images, if my memory serves me correct.
Yeah, I don't know that I do any grinding here at this point, but it is nice to get these chests out of the way and not have to worry about them. And that ice armor, that's very pretty. That gives him an extra bit of protection right there. Ice with flame, that's 2 of the spell types out of the way, and a little more that he can buff across.
Yep, and along with the death protections, there's got a little bit of instant death protection too, so there's got a lot of good options here. Caleb is going to give us a look at Lower Ice Cave here, because, there's still items to be had. Finds the Frost Dragons here, which they're a bit of a nuisance, but we'll see how this works out.
They took a decent chunk off of that middle red mage right there. It's going to be interesting. The thing that Caleb needs right now is to keep that white mage alive. You can see he has them in the back row, but he needs that white mage to survive everything, because white mage is going to help him exit out and prevent him from having to double dip this dungeon.
Yeah, we got Deng shuffling up gear. Finds the first ribbon of the game here looks like ribbon number 1 is down here in Dwarf Locked as well. So Caleb's working basically a little bit without a net here that Deng is going to have access to when he gets to Ice Cave.
Yeah, the ribbon, the Moon, all those extra pieces of gear that he's finding. His party is pretty well stacked right now. It's a solid amount of gear that he's gotten, and when he comes in and does Ice Cave and Volcano, which he's quickly heading off towards right now, he is going to have a leg up.
Yep, with the Mospian, he might not even be afraid of the randomized fiend, because, you might be able to take down whoever it is if they didn't roll well. The interesting thing about the randomization for stats in this is that base enemies are at 77 to 130%, so most of them are going to be right around what you normally expect to see in vanilla. So vanilla knowledge comes in. Boss scaling ends up spreading out to, I believe it's 66 to 250%, so bosses are going to be a little bit all over the building.
40 to 250, but yeah, it's a range. It's still going to be higher than you expect from vanilla if they roll average across the board. But what it also means is that you could end up with a boss that has like 40% absorb, but 250% damage, and just like wipes you away, even though it seems like you should be able to take them out no problem. And it's the tail lurking here at Ice Cave, still no floater.
Yep, tail would give us class promotion. Class promotion, not always a necessary thing in these flags, especially if you're running black belt. If you intend to get like a 32 black belt, you don't want to promote because you want that 4 magic resistance per as opposed to promoting into 1 magic resistance per level and then absolutely having to stick a ribbon on your master because they have the lowest magic resistance in the game.
Someone in chat's asking about the names of the characters on Caleb's team. It's Groggy Dog, Sirenis, and I believe Shadow Wisher right there. 3 of the players from the Duckling Seed we did earlier this week. He decided to honor those 3 with names in his party. And then, of course, Dangwu is the dead spot, because that's the guy he's fighting.
I would state that I would never be so petty as to do this, but I've done that multiple times in races with people.
I used to do that and other fun things with my naming, and then I started naming all of my characters after the other players on my team from the recent On-Rack Summer Vacation tournament that we did, the league. I got good luck with them as my party name, so I've just stuck to that at this point. We all have our little traditions.
Naming schemes are very important, and everybody's got theirs. And I've got a few that I use personally, and I will shuffle them up as I see fit.
Well, no one wants to admit that they're superstitious and hoping for luck, but the second you find something that works, you're totally going to keep doing it.
There's no luck in this game. The game destroys you, and that's how it works. Look, I've played this game a couple of times, I'm not gonna lie. Caleb, of course, gets picked off on the river, speaking of dying, on his way out of Ice Cave. And it looks like Deng has decided it's time to go down into the Shrine of the Sea, so it looks like he is going to take his Lightning 3 charges and sadly, kill lobsters.
I don't think there's anything sad about that. Those lobsters deserve to die.
As the sole member of Team Lobster on this stream, I would like to object to this. Lobsters are very important, an important part of the ecosystem. We love them, and we want to be their friends because then they'll low roll and not kill them.
I mean, I can see your logic there. However, Crab Cakes was on my team for OSV, so crabs are better than lobsters. That's the default.
You don't like white mages, you don't like lobsters.
I didn't say I don't like white mages. I actually take a white mage in most of my parties.
Alright, fine. You'll be okay then.
No, it's just that white mage is a hard character to start with, especially when you get, like, the double white mage, the white mage plus the white mage tavern. Because if you don't get, like, Fade or something, your early game really kind of hurts.
I mean, if you just don't have the willpower to take 3 white mages and 3 silver hammers, I really don't know what to do with you at that point.
Fair.
Actually, that's really awful, and they would have all been like extra thankful for that ship. Honestly, let's be real. But
hey, props to playing a spicy party, though. More power to you, right there.
yeah, there was a tournament. Last league, like last year, which was draft. And so what ends up happening, of course, is that you could have either chosen to like draft what you wanted to play, or you could troll people. And we definitely saw one race that was red mage, white mage, white mage, white mage.
So while Danglu is just to get us back on topic for just a second, we have Danglu over here at Onrak, about to go check the mermaid area before maybe going and seeing what boss is down on the spicy side of the dungeon. Meanwhile, Caleb is following in his tracks, finally going over to Marsh Cave, gonna eventually get that Masamune he's gonna hold so dearly to his chest. It's gonna be good for Caleb.
You usually hold the Masamune dearly to your enemy's chest, though, not your own.
Well, it's good to get your energy on the sword before you slash at other people and cover it in blood.
Legitimate, but worrisome. But yeah, so looks like some of these Seafood Party pack layouts are going to be unrunnable here, so Deng is going to have to continue burning off these Lightning 3 charges to get through. It looks like they, of course, at 130 maximum, occasionally are surviving a Lightning 3, but it's not too likely to.
Interesting to note that Caleb is at just the right level where the crawls in this party actually ran away from him. Of course, the undead have a high rate to run away at this point, a very low chance of it, I should say. I have seen it happen, but by and large, the undead do not tend to run away from your characters. So only one of the characters in that group actually did run away from them. But still, interesting to note that there are some monsters already rolling low morale.
Yeah, I mean, morale is a chance to escape, basically, based upon the level of the lead character in your party. So the opportunity to run increases as your levels increase. But of course, as I lovingly say, FF1 is basically D&D. So morale is a statistic that the undead really don't have because it's through the roof because they're undead and they don't know any better.
Brainless, mindless skeletons and zombies.
Wizards have Squint as well, but I believe that bounces off a Pro Ring, so that'll be just fine here.
Yeah, they're getting to the point right now where their magic defense would help to cover a little of that as well. Like, the higher your level, the better your magic defense, the more likely some of these spells aren't to hit. Of course, you still have that chance of a Bane getting right through on your level 50 black belt, no matter what you do to it. That always hurts.
Yeah, it's a source of great frustration in the community, but it is, as they say, part of the game.
It is. It's part of that D&D thing. There's always that chance you could fail your saving throw.
Look, your DM is a jerk. Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy is the DM.
Alright, so it looks like Deng decides upon fighting the upper forced encounter tile here in the 3-chest room in the bottom left corner. We're still looking for some loose key items here. We still don't know where the floater is, and again, we still also need the rod and the cube, so we're still a little stuck out in terms of where we can...
Couple key things just to be able to get us through the game. Now, they could make it through the game right now without that floater. Sailing the high seas to complete the seed is entirely possible. Floater is not a required item. Could just be down a long path of random stuff they don't want to have to do. Could be buried in some dungeon they're never going to clear out if they already have go mode at that point. The more important ones are that rod and that cube, and finding those and being able to get through the game at that point.
I actually have to double check something on that. They might actually need the floater to finish. They're on standard open progression, right?
They are, I think. Aren't they still able to sail over to Mirage? I was pretty sure that was one of the ones that came in with the first progression.
Right. The second one was floater stone drop-offs. But yeah, you can sail. Okay, Spells app is noting that you can sail to Mirage because you can sail to You can sail to Onrock as well.
Yeah, that was one of those ones. That's one of the first conveniences they put in, but it still doesn't allow you to sail everywhere. Like, you can't get to the floater spot without a canoe. Crabcake's rooting for Sky, expecting that the cube is going to be buried in the dungeon it's used for. Meanwhile, Dangwoo is making the play to see what spicy thing might be hiding here at the Kraken tile. Don't know. It's going to be our first fiend reveal. Going to find out what fiend is lurking here. Wisely heals up first. In case it is Kraken.
I'm always hoping for Tiamat.
Honestly, of the 4 early fiends, I'm always most afraid of finding Kraken. And it's Carrie! Oh, that's halfway safe. Carrie's not the nicest one with the spell loadout they have and the levels they're at right now. I don't think Carrie's going to prove too difficult, not at 250% skill.
Oh, wow, never mind.
Swing. Never mind. Blink if you miss a Carrie, she's gone.
Yeah, I mean, early Carrie, she does only have 500 base hit points. She's not exactly the toughest enemy in the game, but yeah, she gets rung up real quick here, and we're now where Deng takes the lead in terms of orbs. With, again, getting that Mazamune has sort of opened up the routing for Dengwu here and given him a couple of more options, and so he's going to hike back to his boat now with his save intact, so he's not going to lose that progress.
I was just winding up to start the big speech about Carrie and the things they were going to do and everything, and then she just piffles away like flash paper. It's almost like she was Lich instead. There was supposed to be a Carrie there, but no one showed up.
She doesn't actually have that much armor, honestly, baseline, so she can get pretty well opened up by physical attacks a lot of the time. Looks like she basically rolled near no stats anyways, so
yeah,
hopefully she'll get her revenge.
Oh wow, that was pretty awesome right there. So he's now one in the bank. Now note that despite the fact that the fiend was shuffled, that is still the water crystal that he has lit. It's when you actually have to go light all 4, it's kind of a moot point essentially. But it is worth noting that the crystal is what the location is what defines the crystal gets lit, not the fiend that's in charge of it.
Well, that's totally fine here. So we've got Caleb doing some treasure digging here. Gonna take his Mazamune around the world here and I guess open some treasure. Dengwu is now deep in the frozen bowels of the ice cave. It's cold in there.
Well, he's got to go down there and find that tail, which actually, considering the items he's found and the loadout of characters he's playing, if he sticks with this Fighter 3 Red Mage, that tail is absolutely essential for him. And
go ahead.
It's a question for I was just going to say, it's a question for their party, because I've seen them recently run black belts in this, because the experience is not that bad. It's not the best experience for black belts, but I've seen them run black belts. We had Caleb do it just this last game. But with the equipment they're getting, is black belt really the best thing they could do?
I mean, with the Mazamune in hand here, I don't know if black belt is the best thing you can do, potentially. I mean, there's only one ribbon in the seed, but there was the wall sword, which will give you a little bit of coverage there. The major thing is that Deng does not have a White Mage right now, and as we know, White Magic has Cure 4, Life, and Life 2 all locked to White Mage or Promoted White Wizard. So, there's that problem right now of, without Life Magic, you do need a black belt to overwhelm fights pretty quickly because, you get a little bit of absorb and it takes you a turn to get the Mazamune online, and then all of a sudden, Kraken has eaten your red mages, and you're not really sure what to do anymore.
In all honesty, with the way that this seed has kind of built out, strong possibility of dumping a good bracelet on a white mage, like taking a 2 white mage party for a little bit, dumping a good bracelet on one of the white mages, running down into ice, doing a eye grind, or maybe run down to volcano and do an agma grind, depending upon how they are, with just a white mage with the Mazamoon, and then the second you get that white a certain level, ditch them over to black belt outside of town because you have exit, and get yourself rolling from there with just maybe a black belt and a single white mage as your entire party. That's spicy, but with the way that these things have been rolling right now, I could see that working.
I mean, that's a very gutsy strategy, certainly. Grinding the white mage with the Mazamoon. Remember that the strength and the hit rate's a little bit lower there, but it could be a little problematic. It looks like Wraiths in behind that lightning too were also pack and crack. So it looks like Will C on Deng's screen got swallowed whole by the earth and is going to take the rest of the seed off, at least until we get to a town.
You didn't need him. You got 2 other red mages. It'll be fine, I'm sure.
You really have a strange definition of the word fine.
Procape lurking there in Canaria. That's one of those nice shield items you can find. Procape is a shield, as much as it might not seem like it, and it's one of the few shields that all your mages are going to be able to wear. I like finding those. It's nice for my full build-out, so my mages can feel nice and complete.
Yeah, and it's another 8 defense. The only class that cannot equip them, of course, are Black Belts and Masters. They don't know how to equip a cape because it gets in the way of their hands. Don't ask.
I almost feel like I should ask, but okay, you told me not to. That's good.
Yeah, we are still missing access to do dungeons at this point in time. But again, there's a ton of treasure chests out there. Neither of our runners have dipped in the volcano yet. So they've been avoiding that the whole time. Decided that Sea Shrine was a better play on Deng's side. Caleb is just trying to clean up the southern continent here as best he can with what he's doing the free chests, as many keylock chests as he can get his hands on at this point. But yeah, so the threat of volcano or possibly a loose item out there in Upper Earth or Mirage Tower is still looming a little bit large here.
I mean, I know Crabcakes in our chat room is already rooting for a required Mirage double dip right there, just to find a progression item that they're going to need. While we see the Cure 3 shirt lurking there in the Elfland treasury.
I mean, the tough thing about the shirt is you can only use it in combat, and it heals for a decent amount. I mean, it's going to give you about 100 points of healing, which I believe it's 72 to 128. I have to look that up. It tops out at 128.
It's not a Cure 4 item, so it doesn't like Nig was to keep a white mage in my party, because you can just blast Cure 4 constantly on every turn with that character, no matter what battle you get into. Not necessarily going to keep everyone alive, but keeps a lot of them. But Cure 3 is not quite that same level of security.
It is thoroughly mediocre, but it's not bad.
Decidedly average.
It's decent, I guess. So yeah, nope, it looks like, alright, nope, Caleb is gonna be on this trio party, is gonna go ahead and flip the red mage over to the black mage, so he's going with looks like a red-white black belt party here at this time, so he is decided. It looks like he is going to commit to the bit here, and by the bit, I mean the bit of punching.
Well, I think his characters are in the mid-20s right now. That's not terrible for a black belt, and with that Mazamoon, gonna get plenty of hits off of it. Nothing to stress about right there. Almost as good as a fighter right there. You slap a bracelet on them, they'll be good for a little while, get them up into the 30s, no longer need the bracelet. Good to go. I can see this play, and he's still doing dungeon diving, so I don't think he's too worried about, a real grind. If he needs it, he can go grind on a tile later, but with the number of dungeons he has available to him, he's going to probably get into the 30s without even having to try.
Yeah, Spellzap's asking why he's switching before Earth Cave, and it's a really interesting decision, certainly. He's giving up a lot of his AoE magic for these lower floors, which are a lot of packs of those roving undead. Wraiths are not going to show up here, thankfully, but, he probably just wants to try and drill through this dungeon as fast as possible. And start just obliterating fiends left and right.
I mean, I would say, yeah, dig to the dungeon as fast as possible, except he has to check every single one of these chests still. I can see the point.